Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and what positive big news to bring you on a Monday morning. 3 huge signings for Manchester United we could potentially be on the brink of. We've got Jadon Sancho. Raphael Varane is very much a deal that Manchester United can do, and we can talk about it in a minute. But the big story this morning is Camavinga to Manchester United. It was a week ago that it broke as a story. It's now been verified by Fabrizio Romano, and I can read you basically what he's saying about this. Manchester United have stepped up their pursuit of Eduardo Camavinga and are making progress in attempts to sign him. Rennes are open to selling Camavinga for about 30 million euros, which is 25 million pounds, as they could otherwise lose him for nothing next summer. I mean, first thing I would say is if you can get Camavinga for 25 million pounds, this is like getting a Ferrari for the price of a Vauxhall Astra. He is that good. He's never a player I thought United would get. Welcome to the Members Club, Hartif. Thank everyone who's tuning in. He's never a player I thought Manchester United could get. I really thought he would be a player that was going to go to, maybe a PSG or a Real Madrid. I never thought United could pull this sort of a deal off. And he is, without question, one of the best young players coming through in the world. Now, we've already got one of those in Mason Greenwood. We've potentially got another one in Jadon Sancho. I think Amad Diallo's a fantastic player as well. So this would be a really exciting signing if Manchester United could make it. And the fact that Fabrizio is mentioning progress of transfer talks, but also fees, is ridiculously exciting. And look, I will sit here and say now, if we get Sancho, Varane and Camavinga, to me that basically ticks every box. If we keep Paul Pogba. And Romano did say this was a separate thing to Pogba. It's not about a replacement for Pogba. It's a separate thing to Pogba. Now look, the cynic in me would say, I don't know about that. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how, if Camavinga comes in, does Pogba stay? And somebody just said there, how would Ollie, a few of you are saying, how would Ollie use him? Let me just say this about Camavinga, because this is credible story. This is, if Camavinga signs, how does we know Ollie will pick him, says Swaphill? A lot of people are asking about that. I want to get straight into that. But first of all, this is coming from Fabrizio Romano. It's also been coming from a few sources in France last week, which was verified by some very good, credible people there. So Manchester United's interest in Camavinga is not off the back of the Daily Mail or the Star. With all due respect to them, this is coming from good sources, and this is a very good deal if United can do it. Now, PSG are interested. Other clubs will be interested. We'll talk about, we're going to be talking about Danny Ings to Manchester United as well. That's coming from David Ornstein. Also a bit about Varane as well, and Pogba. But I suppose the most important thing to say about Camavinga is he's 18 years of age. Would Ole Gunnar Solskjaer use him? I think he'd have to use him, because I think it's like he'd be so visibly better than Scott McTominay and Fred instantly that you'd have to use him. Having said that, some people would say, well, Van der Beek's in that boat and he doesn't use him. I think the most interesting thing about Camavinga is that, and I've said this before, it's like, Scooby-Doo, says John King. I've said this before, when Van der Beek came into the club, I fell foul of the Donny Van der Beek, he's a number 10 cult fan group, because they were like, he's a number 10 and that's all he is. He's only a number 10. He's just a number 10. That's all he is. He's only a number 10. And I said, he's not just a number 10. He's a box-to-box player. I think that's his best position. And I think, many of us were proved right about that. I can now already see with Camavinga that people are saying he's a box-to-box player. He's a number 8. Mate, he's 18. He's 18. If you look at the player, his best attribute is tackling. And he's a very good he's a very, very, very good tackler. And people want to call him the next Paul Pogba, and I don't know why they want to do that. Is it because he's French? I don't know, but I think it's lazy. I remember Paul Pogba as an 18-year-old, and he was not a tackler. He's never been. In fact, Paul Pogba at 18 is very similar to Paul Pogba at 28. He's just better. Paul Pogba at 18 was a player that could get hold of the ball, hit a long pass, drive forward with the ball, shoot from the edge of the box. Very much the player he is now. Camavinga is not Paul Pogba. There are no similarities between Pogba and Camavinga apart from the fact they're French. You could think of about 20 players Camavinga is more like than Paul Pogba. In fact, Camavinga's probably more like Kante, but he's not like Kante either, just because he's French. So Camavinga's big assets for me are his tenacity, his attack, and his tackling. Yes, he's very good on the ball, and yes, that's going to develop, and maybe he wants to be a number 8. But at 18, with the attributes that he's got, he can easily be turned into, or actually just be, a centre defensive midfielder. That's easily what he could do. Reminds me of the time when we were signing youngsters like Rooney and Ronaldo and sprinkling the experience of Berbatov and Hargreaves on top, says Abanaf. And 4 tackles and interceptions per game pressing stats also look at elite, says Gordon. Well, I've seen people talking about this last night about Camavinga and what, he's got the most tackles in this and that and everything like that. The reality is, go and watch the player yourself. Like, I mean, even if it is just going watching, an old game in the French league or whatever, if you watch the player, you'll instantly realise that this is not a number 8, and it's not an attacking midfielder. It's not a Paul Pogba. It's somebody with amazing talent, like Tabriz says. But is he ready for the Premier League? I don't think so. Premier League is a hard and difficult league. Ollie loves McFred, though, says Tabriz. And look, I think that's a very fair point. I think if you did buy Camavinga, would Ollie start playing him straight away? We know what Ollie's like with players. He does like to bed them in. And yeah, I think if you brought Declan Rice in, he'd go straight into the team. But you can't hide away from the fact that it would be a good signing. Mark Darby says Sancho, Varane and Camavinga. If Ollie sticks with McFred, he'll be gone by Christmas, leaving an amazing squad. French connection project for Zidane. And Naveen says Camavinga can be a good CDM if only we had good coaching staff. Imagine one whole season, yet they couldn't figure out zonal marking. Doesn't work, says Naveen. Calling Camavinga the next Pogba is almost as lazy as Ollie thinking that McTominay is the next Darren Fletcher, says Julian S. I mean, there's just no correlation between Camavinga and Pogba, and I think people need to stop being lazy. And as Ram said, Camavinga actually broke through as a CDM, even though last season he spent a lot of time playing as a number 8. If United do buy all these players, I fear we will pay the price in the future windows. This is all just to quench the fire on Glazers out, says Dan Golding. I don't think the fire on Glazers out has completely gone out anyway, to be honest with you. Camavinga is a younger and faster Matic. Well, I'm actually, I actually like people who come out with those sort of things, because I just think moving Camavinga away from Pogba, which is what Romano has done anyway. He said that, Camavinga coming to United isn't necessarily linked with Pogba leaving the club. I think that's the best way to be, because I think that, Camavinga, look, I love all this. I love the fact that we buy a player, we look like we're going to buy a player, and then people start saying, oh, there's no point because Ollie won't buy him. I mean, at the end of the day, he's one of the best 18-year-olds in world football, and we're having a debate about whether it'd be a waste of time buying him because Ollie won't pick him. If Ollie doesn't pick him and Ollie picks McFred, as many of you've said, he'll probably be out of a job by Christmas. So I would rather we acquired players like Camavinga, Varane and Sancho, and then if Ollie and his coaches fail, they can go, and we'll bring in a manager who's got a very good squad to work with. But I don't think Ollie will necessarily fail anyway. Hi Mark, love the show. Camavinga's stats are really good. He's like a young Gerrard, can do it all, says Nicholas Ryan. And I prefer that sort of a comparison, yes, because I think the most important thing to say about Camavinga, and if you're tuning in a little bit late, this is coming in from Fabrizio Romano, that United are progressing the talks for Camavinga so much that a price of £25 million is even being mentioned, which is an absolute bargain for a player that, if he had 3 years left on his contract, would be over 60 million quid. So again, Varane half price, Camavinga half price, totally right players. I think sometimes you can go for a half price option and it might not be the right player. I think with Varane and Camavinga they would be. I'll talk about why I think it's very difficult to get both those players in a minute, but certainly this is very, very exciting, and it shows, but you've got to get it over the line. There's no point coming out of this transfer window with Jadon Sancho, but then we don't get Varane and we don't get Camavinga and Pogba leaves. That becomes a bad window. Optimism and positivity and excitement is very, very important, but also you've got to deliver. You've got to deliver. And as somebody said there, let's not run away with ourselves, because we haven't got Varane and we haven't got Camavinga yet. And if you get Camavinga and Varane and you've got Sancho, that's a very, very good window. But you've got to get those players. You don't achieve anything with nearly. You don't achieve anything with we were in talks. You've got to get them. I can tell you the players that United have been in talks with in the past. Lots of good players, and they never came. Hi Mark, will Camavinga let Pogba play freely without much defensive responsibilities? Though I feel a better centre-back partnership may allow us to play without a specialist CDM, says Ami. And he's a tall Kante, loves a tackle, but can get up the pitch, says Mark Dobby. What is failure for Ollie for Board to sack now? Board only sacks if we don't get top four, says Karen. Well, I think that's probably your default position, Karen. I think if you don't get top 4, you get sacked at United. If you get 4th, you probably stay in your job. That's on the board, though, isn't it? That's their expectations. Would he play centre midfielder or DM, says Philip Keating. And how can Pogba not sign a new deal if we get all of these players, says Kamal. Well, this is what I mean. 3 big signings is what it says on the thumbnail, and this is what United would get. We've already got Sancho, we really want Varane, and we now want Camavinga. That's 3 big signings. That's where I put a big tick and go, I'm not Glazers in, I'm Glazers out. But in relation to the transfer activity, this is what should be happening in every summer. Because as I said, let's get that sinking dinghy out again. Manchester United are a dinghy in shark-infested waters. One of those sharks is called Man City, the other one's called Chelsea. And they're just waiting to eat us up this season because our boat is sinking. It's got 3 big holes in it. It's got a right wing hole, a centre-back hole, and a CDM hole. Well, if you get Sancho, you get Varane, you get Camavinga, then that boat's floating again. And you know what? Paul Pogba might just go, you know what? I'm going to jump in and be an engine. Let's go. Let's churn them sharks up. So, yeah, if you do get those 3 big signings and Pogba says no, you can't have done any more. But maybe I said this, and many of you have said this as well. If you want to keep Paul Pogba, you can't just sit there with a contract saying, please Pogba stay. You've got to go and go, please Pogba stay, but look at what we've done this summer. 2nd last year, we're back in the Champions League. We've added 3 top quality players. We want you to stay. And that, I don't think anybody would complain about that. We need to buy the best players even though Ollie doesn't play them. Look at Chelsea with Tuchel. Exciting times ahead, but Glazers out, says Amit. And hi Mark, it's my 18th birthday today and I just want to say thank you for all the content you've produced over the last year. Keep us all happy, says Josh. Thank you very much, Josh, and big happy birthday to Josh. Thank you. And Dan Golding says Varane, Sancho and Kamavinga were title challengers then, do you think, says Dan. No. Let's not disrespect the fact that Man City and Chelsea are 2 of the best teams in the world at the moment, and 3 signings don't make a difference. Because what if you sign Camavinga, Varane and Sancho, and then next season he's putting Pogba on the left, Rashford on the right, Sancho's on the bench, Camavinga's on the bench, McFred's in the midfield, and only Varane's starting. You can give people the tools, but they've got to know how to do it. My next door neighbour, they're rubbish at DIY. I could pop down B&Q and buy them the best of everything. They'd still be crap at DIY. Van der Beek, and that doesn't mean I'm saying Ollie's crap. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is there are doubts about Ollie. I mean, I'm Ollie in, and some people are Ollie out. So you sort of create Ollie doubts. And look, you can give Ollie the best players in the world, but if his coaching isn't good enough, and look, lots of people quite rightly talk about substitutions, inability to defend set pieces and crosses, inability to break teams down. Look at Portugal. Portugal's team in the Euros was fantastic. Their tactics were dreadful. So, look at that Portugal team. If that was a club team, you've got Diaz, you've got Bruno, you've got Ronaldo, you've got Silva, you've got Neves, you've got so many good players, and they were shit. Van der Beek competes with Bruno and Pogba, not visibility better. Camavinga definitely beat better than Scott and Fred, says Arita. And Ollie will never fail because the fan base will always lower its standards to accommodate him, says Andre. I don't know, I disagree with you on that, Andre. I mean, you are very consistent in your dislike for Solskjaer as coach. Jayling's fam is as well. There's a lot of people in here that have a bad feeling about our coaching. There's a lot of people who have a good feeling, but I don't think people will. I actually would counter that before we move on to the next story and say that buying players doesn't make Ollie's job safer. In many ways, it makes it harder because the excuses disappear. Last season, I said at the start of the season, we won't finish in the top 4. They had a bad transfer window. They didn't get him a centre back and they didn't get a right winger, and he got us 2nd place. He actually. I think when the fans realise that the Glazers haven't delivered, there is almost a sympathy towards the manager that, well, how are they supposed to achieve with hands tied behind their back? Look, if we get Camavinga, Varane and Sancho, no one's tying anybody's hands behind their back. I think, to be fair to Mourinho, Van Gaal, Moyes and Ollie, they've always had at least one arm tied behind the back by the ownership. If we keep Pogba, we get Sancho, we get Varane and we get Camavinga, I'm sorry, I will sit here and say, Ollie hasn't got any hands tied behind his back. He has to go and succeed. He has to challenge for the title. And if he doesn't, then people will say, well, you know what? He's got the squad. he can't. He ain't good enough. Now, it doesn't mean the Glazers will sack him because he'll probably still get top 4. But I think the pressure would be more on Ollie and his coaches if they got these players in, not less. I would rather have a proven CDM than Camavinga, says Tabras. Tell us one, mate, and I'm sure it's an alternative. So Kamavinga talks progressing. Interesting. We've got another interview for you this afternoon, which you can check into at about 2:30 this afternoon, where we'll have a big update for you on that as well. But yeah, so Camavinga progress talks, according to Fabrizio Romano. £25 million being mentioned because Rennes need to get something because he'll go for free next summer. So very, very interesting. And I am a fan of Basuma, Michael Jones, and I do like Zakaria, and I think they are both players that can play CDM, but Camavinga probably fits the sort of profile of what Manchester United want to get hold of. He's a player that can be one of the best players in the world. He's only 18 and he's really cheap. You'd be foolish not to go for him. But the real one here is that PSG will be interested as well. So let's keep an eye on it. Mark, with all your experience, do you think we can get all these players, says Karan? I do, Karan. I've said before, I think that this, before we talk about Varane, I think that this football club can achieve whatever it wants to achieve. I think this club should be going into a transfer window with 3 holes and filling those holes with Varane, Sancho and a top-class CDM. That's what we should do. I just think expectations have been lowered, that we're so fed up with how crap we are in the transfer market and how tight the Glazers are and how incompetent our board is, that we expect failure every transfer window, because that's basically what we've been delivered. But I know that Manchester United are capable of being effective in the transfer window, and if we see that, then that's a right step forward. What I would say to all these clowns on social media who start going Murta and Fletcher walking in like a boss, it's one summer. One sunny day does not make a summer. Like, the biggest mistake you can make as a United fan is go living up the arse of United because they go and have a good summer transfer window. I mean, one good summer transfer window in the last, 6-7 years? And we're going to start, breaking out the confetti and the champagne. Have a bit of class. Just say, well done. I want to see it again. Because, as somebody said at the start of the video, we might never see it again. This might just be because of the protests. Let's spend a bit of money and then we'll go back to normal. That's what my concern would be. So whatever you do, don't go from protesting Glazer out, not a penny more, to living up their arse because they bought 3 players. And plus, we don't know what they're doing with De Gea. We don't know what they're doing with Pogba. We don't know what we're doing with Matic. There's a lot. The story's still there to be written. It's positive. It's exciting. But look, let's just see who's holding up shirts and who's gone at the end of the summer. Ollie's done a fantastic job, says Mike Smith. Made the squad better and made players better. He's the reason we are now looking at top players who want to join. Very positive, Mike. Mark, don't read this. You don't want to. I have the videos trending on Twitter about Luke Shaw and your crime reaction. All I want to say is ignore them. We love you for the real you, says Shake. Thanks, mate. Thanks for the support. All I would say is, look, I put a quote out from Ronaldo today. I think it's very, very true. Your love makes me stronger and haters just motivate me. Let our success be our noise. That's the way it should be. I don't have time for the hate. Anybody in this industry, I've mentioned it before, this industry's full of backstabbers and not very nice people. But as I've always, I don't get involved in it because when we first came into the scene, we got involved in it and it actually just became childish. I don't really see the need in getting involved in things publicly. I think it stinks of desperation. But my phone is always on for these people, and I've spoken to a lot of these people privately, and it's like, it surprises me that they try and do things publicly, because I'm like, we're meant to be talking about football. We're not meant to be beefing about bloody irrelevant stuff. So, at the end of the day, let them crack on. I'm not going to spend any more time than that. Can you get Mohamed Bahafsi from France on the show, says Mandor. Apparently he's going into politics. I don't think he's going to be a football journalist anymore. Somebody told me that. I think it was MUFC MPB told me that last week. Pel Fen Jesperson says, talk of managers, Zidane has always had world-class players only to manage. He did absolutely nothing with Madrid B team. Will he get the best out of our second best players? Can I just say on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, just to shine a positive light on this. Third in the league, second in the league. What? 3, 2, 1. When the clock rounds, selector. We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. TUS Army for life, says Junior. Thanks everyone for all your support there. I mean, to be honest with you, the positivity and love is my makes us stronger. Hi Mark, can we get Mohammed Bahafsi on the show, says Mohammed. Yep, you're not the only person to ask for that. David Lee, welcome to the members club. Thank you. Remember you can join by clicking the join button. Let me update you on Varane then. We've spoken about Kamavinga. We'll have a little bit more on Kamavinga this afternoon, don't you worry about that. And I think tonight we're going to do a call in tonight at 8 o'clock through the Discord. So I'll get the link in early to the chat. I'll set the chat up at about 7. So 8 o'clock tonight we'll have a call in through Discord. Get some of your thoughts on how we're going, because Euros, we started the call-ins again. Euros came in, we had to stop it. Also got some big news for you on tonight's show as well, so make sure you tune in. Another way for you to get involved. Obviously had people like Levin have joined us from sending videos in, and we've still got more videos to go through, but another thing we're bringing in for next season that you can get involved in, plus the call-in. Thomas Holmes, welcome to the members club. Right, let me talk to you about Varane then. So a bit of a Varane update. Again, you have to be monitoring so much here with United at the moment. With Varane, a culmination of the Spanish news and the English news is that United are progressing talks with Varane. Another one we're progressing with, as we know. As I said yesterday, personal terms with Varane are not the problem. These are effectively done. Obviously, they're not officially signed, but they're agreed. Terms are agreed between Varane and Manchester United, i.e. wages, signing on fee. He's happy with that. But obviously, he's not handed in a transfer request at Real Madrid. Now, people will say, how can you do that? How can you do that? You can do that. If you think back to, Roy Keane. Roy Keane was leaving Nottingham Forest. He'd agreed terms with Blackburn Rovers. And over the weekend, Manchester United got in contact with him and he agreed terms with us and came to us. You could agree terms with 4 or 5 clubs. Doesn't mean you're going to sign for them. So terms agreed with Varane doesn't mean we're going to get him. It certainly is an advancement. What they're saying out of Spain at the moment is that Ancelotti, one of his key things coming into Real Madrid is to keep Varane. And that Varane might well be open to an offer from Real Madrid. So look, this is the thing for me that worries me about Varane, is that... and I've always said this as well, I'm very aware of Ramos. Now, I was 75% sure yesterday, which is quite high. I'm not going to drop down, but I'm certainly not going up this morning. And that will go up and down. But at the moment, I was tempted to drop down to 70% again, but I'm going to keep it at 75% because I don't really have... Nehel says, is Mark promoting the Glazers by wearing that jacket? Mate, I've had this jacket for about 3 years. What do you want me to do? Just wear nothing, get my moobs out, wear a wonder bra. I think Ollie has done a great job breathing life back into us, but Gut says we need to get a better coach. Just don't trust board to find the right one, says Peter Donegan. I think that's a great point, just before I go back to Varane. I think that's a great point from Peter. But actually, what I like, whether you're Ollie in or you're Ollie out, the thing that makes me most excited if we do all these signings is there can be no excuses. So if Ollie ever gets the sack, at least we can look at the manager and go, well, you had everything. You had everything you needed. Wan-Bissaka was 50 million. Maguire was 80 million. Bruno was 50 million. Sancho was basically 80 million. You already had people like Pogba. You've had another centre-back brought in for 50 million. A midfielder brought in. He's had a lot of money. He's had a lot of good players. And, all those players there, I don't think they're flops. I've not mentioned the flops. So if Ollie gets the sack, I can sit there happy in the knowledge, not that he's been sacked, but in the knowledge that he was given a fair crack of the whip. And that's all I want. If you look at Chelsea, they never leave any doubt. Yes, they sacked Lampard. Yes, they've sacked Ancelotti. But you can never say that Chelsea don't give the managers what they need. And then if they fail, they fail. Off topic, but just wanted to say that we're lucky to have Luke at our club, one of the most underrated players in modern time. Absolute beast for us. So I'm so pleased. I'm so happy about Luke Shaw. Look, he's a player that I've and many others have, stood with, not through defiance, just through belief that he's a very good player. And it's great that not only is he getting those plaudits for United fans now, but also from England fans as well. He's fantastic. This Varane story suits both the player and the Glazers. The end result, a new Real deal for Varane and social media interactions for the Glazers, says Andre. And that's the concern, Andre. That is the concern. My concern is that this is Sergio Ramos of 6 years ago. And look, if Varane signs a new deal at Real Madrid, I know I'm going to be gutted. And I know that you're going to be gutted as well. I will be gutted if we don't get Varane. But we've got to be eyes wide open to the fact that United are trying to get him. but he might not really want a new deal, a new challenge. And Andre's right. I've heard all this before. Oh, he's definitely leaving. He's definitely leaving. He's refused all deals from Real Madrid. He wants a new challenge. Now is the time for a new challenge. Oh, he signed a new deal. And, you know. Hi, Mark. My brother lives in Rennes and works there and has been telling me how good Camavinga has been for over a year. He is brilliant, says Chris Morton. He'd be a very, very exciting signing. He'd be a very exciting signing. But we need to get some of these signings over the line. There is competition there from Real Madrid and there is competition there from PSG. PSG for Camavinga and Real Madrid for Varane. Obviously, he's their player. And the interesting thing is that we're almost in a similar situation with Real Madrid. With what we've got with Pogba is what they've got with Real Madrid. And, you know, we could lose Pogba and they could keep Varane, or we could keep Pogba and get Varane. It's like, but they're very similar situations. Hi, Mark. Sorry if this has already been mentioned, but why are no other big clubs in for Varane? Should be really in demand centre-back, in my opinion. And it's embarrassing that our fans give platform what a toxic individual, says Jimmy Garner. Yeah, thanks for the super chat there. Well, a lot, you know, Bayern Munich have already got Upamecano. Liverpool have got Konate. There's a few centre-backs that have already, you know, Ramos is going to go to PSG. So there's a few centre-backs that have already gone. But look, if Varane stays at Real Madrid, all the other big clubs will be like, well, this is what we thought was going to happen anyway. Maybe United are in on a deal that everyone else just thinks isn't going to happen. Maybe Chelsea are like, we're not going in for Varane. I don't know why Chelsea have not gone in for Varane. I don't know why Liverpool didn't go for Sancho. I don't know why, you know, Real Madrid aren't in for Camavinga. I don't know. You know, you can only deal in the market that you're dealing in. And as we know with United are much better in a market where they don't have to compete for a signing as well. So, yeah. Let me just talk to you about Danny Ings. This is coming from the Athletic and David Ornstein saying that Danny Ings, now this was a few months ago this was mentioned, Danny Ings has refused a new contract with Southampton, another player with a year left on his contract. He wants to play at a higher level and Manchester United are admirers of Danny Ings. So, look, I wanted to bring this in. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching, by the way. I've got a really good video coming up for you this afternoon again. That's all I can say. Again. Be around 3 o'clock this afternoon. We should have some big updates for you around Varane and Kamavinga on that one. And might even be live, actually. We'll see. But with Danny Ings, I've got to say just straight away, I know he wants to leave Southampton and I know Manchester United want him. Just very quickly, someone mentioned Pjanic. Apparently, Barcelona have released Pjanic and Umtiti for free. Don't want either of them, but it just shows you the money that's going around. But Ings is a Cavani replacement. Well, let me just say this. Let me just say this. In relation to Danny Ings, he's a very good striker, but let's be fair. Let's be careful about the Anglicisation. I can't even do the word. The Britishness of this English side. If Dean Henderson's replacing De Gea, that's one. You've then got Dean Henderson, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. 4 of our back 5 will be English. You've got Scott McTominay Scottish. You've got Jadon Sancho English. You've got Greenwood English, Rashford English. You know, the team is becoming very British. And I don't have a problem with that because you should never be one way or the other. You know, you shouldn't be scared of having an all-English side, but you shouldn't be scared of having an all non-English side. But you shouldn't be either way. You know, that shouldn't be a factor. And I just think with Danny Ings, he shouldn't be the conversation shouldn't be, oh, let's not get Danny Ings because he's English. But I do think we are becoming a little bit too English or British in our 11 because, like, where does Danny... For me, it goes back to what we were saying on the show last night, and I really enjoyed the show last night. I mean, and Joe was on fire, wasn't he? He was absolutely going in on Martial. But in fact, if we play a front three, we've got a 9 and 2 wide players. And let's say that our 9 is Cavani, and left is Rashford, and Sancho's off the right. You've then got Martial, Greenwood, and Diallo for me as the 3 backups, and you're sorted. That's it. Now, I want Dan James to go because I don't think he's good enough. But if you bring Danny Ings in, that's 7. So that means 1's got to go. Well, I don't want Danny Ings taking the place of Martial because I think Martial's better. I don't want him taking the place of Diallo, and I don't want him taking the place of Greenwood. So I don't want Danny Ings at Manchester United because I think we've got better players. I think Martial is better than Danny Ings. Now, that might be a controversial thing for some people, but whatever, deal with it. You take your opinion. I'll take mine. I'm happy with my opinion. I think Martial's better than Danny Ings. And maybe some people don't like Martial because he's French and they like Danny Ings because he's English. Whatever. Maybe the press feel like that. Maybe some ex-players feel like that. You know, whatever. You be happy with what you're happy with. But I don't see Danny Ings as a player that comes to Manchester United and me going, oh, that's a good deal. I mean, also, he played for fucking Liverpool. But the next step is, well, Cavani's gone in a year. We know Cavani's gone in a year. Does Danny Ings come as a replacement for Cavani? Are you having a laugh? Like, Cavani, look, I was doubtful about Cavani because I thought no one else wanted him and they didn't. And he's injury prone, which he is. And I thought he was past it. And I was wrong. And I'm not bothered. I'm wrong. I was wrong on that. And I think I was right about his injury record. And I was right about no one else wanting him. But that was their mistake. Cavani, whether we got lucky or not, is without question one of the best strikers in the Premier League. And he's you know, he's not one of the best strikers in the league. Like, you know, you could have an argument that Danny Ings is a very good striker. But Danny Ings and Cavani is like comparing... I don't know, it's like comparing a pint of Carling and a pint of Peroni. Peroni is high premium lager and Carling's just British and cheap. I like Carling. I'll drink Carling in the pub, but Peroni is something a little bit different. It's quality. And replacing Cavani with Ings, you're having a laugh. Like, when Cavani goes, we should be looking at Haaland or a top-class striker, not Danny Ings. So Danny Ings, for me, just doesn't make any sense. I don't want Danny Ings at the club. Camavinga would be a good signing. Don't you think, Mark? We should be aware of Ings and Josh King. We should have a couple of Italians, passion and ball, says Paulo Ramirez. I just think that, and I might be completely wrong with this, but you do hear rumours, and I don't know where it comes from, but I just feel that United seem to be going down this road of being a bit obsessed with British players. I don't own crypto, no, Sam. I think that we are... And I don't agree with that. And I said this on the show last night. In the last 5 years, I've noticed a lot of people, fans, ex-players, media, who just seem to focus in on Bruno, Martial, Pogba, De Gea, way more than they do over a Rashford, a Lingard, a McTominay, or a Maguire. And I think that is not a good thing in the world that we live in. I think that United's success is built upon iconic players that aren't from Manchester, that aren't from England. You know, your Roy Keanes, your Eric Cantona's, your Cristiano Ronaldo's, your Van Nistelrooy's. You know, the list goes on and on and on and on. Peter Schmeichel, you know. And I think that you've always got to have a good mix. And I think that Danny Ings coming into the club, you know, that would be, in our forward line, Sancho, Rashford, Greenwood, Ings, 4 English players out of 6. Come on. We don't need... And people say, oh, you're being a bit, you know, whatever the word is here. I'm not. What I'm saying is we're boxing ourselves off. We're boxing ourselves off with British players. Like, the world is a big place. You know, it's not just Great Britain. There's a massive world. There's Europe, Asia, Australasia, South America, North America, Antarctica. It's a massive world out there, and I don't think we need to be so driven at getting in English players. But you know what? I think Danny Ings is a very good player, a very, very good player. But for me, it's one we should avoid. For every day, I mean, to be absolutely blunt, there's probably about 50 Danny Ings for a lot cheaper across Europe, playing in France, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands. You know, there'll be plenty of Danny Ings out there. I don't think that we should. Africa as well. I forgot Africa. I'm rubbish on continents. Did I miss anyone? Is that Oceania? That's a nightclub, isn't it? I'm actually rubbish on continents. You've got Africa, Asia, Europe, South America, North America. Is it Australasia? How many continents are there? Antarctica. Is that it? 7? Is there 7? We're having a geography class here. If you're watching at school, this is the best you're going to get. Australasia is something else. 7, I've got it right. Caribbean's is not a continent. I don't know what continent the Caribbean is in. Is it classed as North America? I think it is. I don't know I don't know where I've got Australasia from. What's Australia? That's something I've heard of in the past. What's Australasia? Where have I heard of Australasia from? Gustav's saying, I have heard of Australasia. Somebody please tell me I have not just made that up. I know what Australia is, but I'm sure there used to be something called Australasia when I was younger, which I think encompassed... Right, I'm going to Google this. We're meant to be talking about football. Australia. Well, it's a restaurant. Jesus. It is something. It's a region. It's a region which comprises Australia, New Zealand and some neighbouring islands. The term is used in a number of different contexts. You see. It does mean something, but it's definitely not a continent. Or it could be a continent. Anyway, we've gone and got lost. Well, we've got 15,000 people having a geography lesson. Maybe I should start doing this. Anyway, let's come back to the football. Glad you mentioned Antarctica, Mark. So many great footballing talents from there, says Max. Yeah. So many I can't even list them. This manager's fixation on British players is clearly the catalyst for all these media bias against our foreign players. He doesn't even defend them, says Julian S. Keep an eye out for Salzburg and Leipzig. They always seem to get players with that raw talent we would love to have, says Yo Neymar. Yeah, they're very good. They're very good at that, actually. I think they've already done it as well. Leipzig, I mentioned it on the watch-along for the Euros a couple of days ago. Leipzig have just bought a good player in, and I was like, that's another good player they've got involved in. Love the community. Yeah, we have a good laugh in this community. So yeah, 3 big signings hopefully. Obviously we've done Sancho. Hopefully we can do Varane, and Kamavinga talks are progressing. If we can get those 3, I'm always going to be greedy and want more, but if we get those 3 signings and we keep Paul Pogba, forget about it. Would you be happy with that? Just quickly, 3 big signings: Sancho, Varane, Camavinga. Would you be happy with that? And at this moment, I think we can sit here not knowing it's going to happen, but we can certainly sit here and say, well, Sancho's done, Varane we are working hard on, and Camavinga we're clearly working on as well. If we get those 3 signings and keep Paul Pogba, I'd be like, right, that's it. No excuses, Ollie. Let's go for it. Hi, Mark. I've just seen past United Stand members talking bad about you. What a disgrace. Loyalty means nothing in this business. Sorry for the negativity, but you seem a decent bloke to me. Keep your head up, mate. Thank you, Sonny B. Thank you for the nice comments. Goldbridge Ultras, says Russ, and Gary Barlow. It would be absolutely fantastic. It would. Chelsea want to buy Ben White. Good. That's all I can say about that. I do not want Ben White at Manchester United. I mean, surprising. I mean, we'll probably come in with a late bid. It's. We don't want Ben White. I mean, we'd have an English back 5 then, an English back 5. Bloody hell! What would that be all about? What would that be all about? Ben, I'm not going to call him Ben Shite. That's not really very fair, is it? But 3 big signings. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm encouraged by Camavinga. I'm encouraged by the Varane talks. Obviously, we've got Jadon Sancho done. I do think that if we got those 3 players in and we kept Paul Pogba, we'd have a very big squad next season. And I think ultimately we would have a situation where you couldn't really make any excuses for Ollie to fail. I'm not saying he would win the league, but I think he would have to go and challenge for the league. And I think that's all that we want. That's all we want. We just want a team that's going to challenge. Anyway, look, we've got a good interview coming up for you this afternoon. We've got the 8 o'clock show tonight where we're going to have a call in. I'm looking forward to a lot of what you've got to say. If you didn't watch last night's show, Joe let rip on a couple of things, didn't he? Pro Henderson, pro getting rid of Martial. It's all about opinion. That's what it's all about. How do you think Ollie will incorporate Camavinga into the team, a box-to-box along with Pogba and Bruno, says Suradeep? I think he'd have to get Varane in. And then if he got Varane in, you could probably play Pogba and Camavinga, and I think it would work really well. But it would be a change. You wouldn't have to play 2 holding midfielders sitting back. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Really, really appreciate everyone getting involved. TUS Army, much love. Have a great day. We will be back this afternoon at 3 o'clock, hopefully live. But if not, it will go up anyway. And then 8 o'clock will be live as well. Obviously, if anything breaks, we'll go live. So make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And check out the new video t-shirts we've got. The links in the video description. Sancho signed. We've got a brand new design in relation to that. A lot of you saw it yesterday. Check it out through the link in the video description. I'll see you all in a little bit. Take care.